The wealthy guests sat around the long mahogany dining table, their polished glasses reflecting the golden glow of the chandelier. Laughter filled the air, but it wasn't the light-hearted kind, it was the arrogant, dismissive kind that made the humble feel smaller. At the end of the table sat a man in his late 40s, Mr. Raza, a self-made millionaire whose confidence had long since crossed the line into pride. He loved to be the smartest, the loudest, and the most admired in every room. That evening, he wanted to show off more than just his wealth. He wanted to prove, once again, that knowledge belonged to the rich, while the poor had nothing but their hands to serve. "Let's play a game," he announced, swirling the wine in his crystal glass. His eyes swept the room until they landed on the maid standing silently in the corner. A frail woman in her early 40s, her head bowed, her hands folded neatly in front of her. Her name was Amina. She had worked in his mansion for years, cleaning, cooking, and caring for his children whenever the busy household demanded. She was quiet, respectful, and invisible, at least, to most of them. Raza smirked, pointing his glass toward her. "Amina," he said, his voice laced with amusement, "if you can translate what I'm about to read, I will give you my entire month's salary." "Imagine that! More than you'll ever see in your lifetime." The guests burst into laughter. The idea of a maid understanding a foreign language seemed ridiculous to them. To them, she was just another servant, her world limited to mops, laundry, and trays of food. But Amina slowly lifted her head. Her eyes, usually downcast, met his for the first time. And in that silent exchange, something shifted in the air. Raza pulled out a book, written in French, and began reading a passage. His voice rolled smoothly, full of arrogance, as though already savoring her humiliation. When he finished, he leaned back in his chair, waiting for the silence, the confusion, the embarrassment. Instead, Amina spoke. Her voice trembled at first, but grew steadier with each word as she translated the passage perfectly, word for word, tone for tone, until the entire dining hall fell silent. Raza's glass nearly slipped from his hand. The guests stared in disbelief. The maid who scrubbed their floors and served their meals had just done what many of them could not. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Raza forced a laugh, trying to brush it off. "Lucky guess," he muttered. But his face was pale, his pride shattered. What no one knew was Amina's past. She had once been a teacher in her village, fluent in multiple languages. She had dreams of becoming a translator, of traveling the world with words as her passport. But life had been cruel. Her husband had fallen sick, medical bills consumed their savings, and soon she was left a widow with 2 young children and no support. To survive, she had taken up work as a maid in the city, sacrificing her dignity to put food on the table. Every night, when the mansion slept, Amina would sneak into the old library, running her fingers over the spines of books in English, French, and Arabic. She would whisper words under her breath, refusing to let her knowledge die. For her, education was not just a skill, it was the last piece of her true self she refused to lose. That night, as the millionaire sat speechless, the guests began whispering among themselves. Respect flickered in their eyes for the woman they had ignored for years. And for the first time, Amina stood taller, not because she had humiliated him, but because she had reclaimed her voice. But her victory did not come without challenges. Raza's pride was wounded, and instead of honoring his promise, he tried to find ways to discredit her. "She must have memorized that one passage," he sneered. "There's no way she knows more." He began testing her with random words, phrases, and sentences from different languages, determined to prove her unworthy. Yet Amina answered each with quiet confidence. Arabic verses, English poetry, French proverbs, she translated them all. The whispers in the room turned to applause. Someone even rose from their seat, clapping loudly. Cornered and humiliated, Raza finally handed over the promised salary. But what he didn't realize was that something far greater than money had happened in that room. Amina had proven that true worth is never measured by wealth or status. Word spread quickly. Guests who witnessed the scene spoke about her brilliance, and soon, one of them, an educationist, offered her a small job teaching languages at a community center. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A doorway back to the life she had once dreamed of. Her children, who had always seen their mother as a maid, now looked at her with newfound pride. They studied harder, believing that if she could rise above humiliation, they too could break free from their struggles. Months passed, and Amina slowly transitioned from the mansion to the classroom. Her students adored her, not only for her knowledge but for the humility and kindness she carried. And though she never flaunted her story, those who knew it understood one thing: she had turned pain into power, silence into strength. As for Raza, the millionaire, he never laughed at another poor soul again. The memory of that night remained etched in his mind, a reminder that arrogance can be shattered in a moment, and true greatness often hides in the places we least expect. Message for the viewers. Dear friends, Amina's story is more than just about a maid surprising a millionaire. It's about never letting your true self die, no matter how difficult life becomes. Knowledge, kindness, and resilience have a power that money can never buy. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What lesson did you take from Amina's courage? I'd love to read your feelings and reflections. And don't forget, subscribe to my channel, Be Kind Always, for more stories that inspire, heal, and remind us of the power of humanity. Together, let's spread kindness, one story at a time.